Imagine living at 40 degrees Fahrenheit, where breath freezes instantly. Yet ancient Scandinavians slept warm and safe, while many modern homes fail even with heaters. Their peat houses were sunk into the earth, wrapped in thick layers of soil and grass that trapped heat like a natural thermos. Instead of fighting nature, they used it, turning frozen ground into insulation and deadly winds into irrelevant noise. The living roofs absorbed warmth, the dense walls stored heat for hours, and almost nothing escaped. No electricity, no gas, no smart systems, just brutal intelligence shaped by survival. Meanwhile, today's houses rely on thin walls, fragile insulation, and endless energy bills. The shocking truth is this: our ancestors mastered cold with wisdom, while modern design often forgets the most basic rule: heat saved is better than heat produced. To truly understand why ancient Scandinavian peat houses conquered extreme cold, while modern homes collapse under it, you must first erase the modern illusion that technology automatically equals intelligence, because those early builders were not primitive dreamers hiding from winter. They were engineers shaped by death, famine, and unforgiving climate. They observed that wind kills faster than cold, that empty air leaks heat while dense mass stores it, and that the earth itself is the greatest insulator ever created. Peat houses were not built on the land but into it, merging architecture with geology, reducing exposed surface area so brutally that the cold simply had nowhere to attack. Thick walls of turf, sometimes over a meter deep, acted as thermal batteries, absorbing heat from fire, bodies, and even daylight, then releasing it slowly through the night. The roof, layered with grass and soil, was alive. Snow piled on top and became insulation instead of an enemy. While modern roofs collapse under that same weight, inside low ceilings reduced air volume so heat concentrated where people lived, not wasted above their heads. Doorways were small, windows rare, and openings carefully positioned not for beauty but for survival, because beauty meant nothing if you froze to death. Compare this to modern homes with massive glass walls designed for aesthetics, bleeding heat endlessly into the sky, demanding constant energy input just to maintain livable temperatures. Ancient Scandinavians understood a brutal truth we ignore today: the cheapest heat is the heat you never lose. Their homes were silent during storms because wind could not penetrate earth, while modern houses whistle, creak, and shiver as air forces its way through gaps and joints. Peat houses created stable internal climates, resisting sudden temperature swings, protecting inhabitants not only from cold but from illness caused by damp and drafts. Modern homes, by contrast, rely on mechanical systems that fail the moment power is lost, turning comfort into panic within hours. When storms knock out grids today, people flee or freeze, but in peat houses, winter power outages simply did not exist. These structures were carbon-neutral centuries before the term was invented, built entirely from local materials, repaired with hands, not machines, and passed down through generations as living knowledge. Yet modern construction ignores local climate wisdom, exporting the same glass and concrete designs across deserts, tundra, and tropics alike, then blaming energy shortages when they fail. Peat houses were not symbols of poverty. They were symbols of adaptation, humility, and deep environmental literacy. Fire was used sparingly, because once heat entered the structure, it stayed, unlike modern homes that leak warmth faster than furnaces can produce it. Even body heat mattered, because tight, enclosed spaces multiplied its effect. Animals were often housed nearby or connected, sharing warmth in a closed-loop system. Modern zoning laws would forbid. Despite its efficiency, every design choice asked a single ruthless question: does this help us survive winter? A question modern architecture rarely asks, distracted instead by trends, profits, and visual impact. Today, we insulate with synthetic foams that degrade, trap moisture, and poison indoor air, while ancient turf walls regulated humidity naturally, preventing condensation and mold through breathable density. The irony is staggering. With all our simulations, sensors, and smart thermostats, we still struggle to match the passive performance of homes designed with nothing but observation and necessity. Ancient builders did not calculate R values, yet their walls outperformed many modern standards because they worked with physics. No. T against it. Heat rises, wind strips warmth, mass stabilizes temperature. These truths were learned through experience, paid for in lives, not textbooks. Modern society forgot these lessons when cheap energy made inefficiency invisible, allowing waste to masquerade as comfort. But as energy costs rise and climates grow harsher, the ancient wisdom buried under turf becomes relevant again. The real shock is not that peat houses worked, it is that we abandoned a proven system for fragile designs dependent on endless fuel. Ancient Scandinavians built homes that assumed the worst and endured it, while modern homes assume systems will always work. An assumption winter loves to punish. When you strip away romance and nostalgia, peat houses reveal something uncomfortable. Our ancestors were not backward, they were ruthless realists. They accepted nature's power and responded with intelligence instead of arrogance. Modern homes freeze not because we lack technology, but because we forgot restraint, forgot efficiency, forgot respect for environment. Peat houses did not dominate cold by overpowering it, but by disappearing into it, becoming part of the landscape instead of standing against it. And that may be the most shocking lesson of all, that survival is not about fighting nature harder, but about understanding it deeper. And when you continue pulling this thread deeper, an even more uncomfortable truth emerges. Modern homes are not designed for survival at all. They are designed for normal conditions, assumptions, averages, and convenience, while ancient Scandinavian peat houses were designed for failure scenarios, for storms that lasted weeks, for darkness that swallowed months, for temperatures that killed the careless without mercy. Those builders assumed fuel would be scarce, assumed fires could die, assumed help would never come, and so the house itself became the primary defense, not a secondary shell around machines. Every wall carried responsibility. Every roof carried memory. Every joint carried consequence. Contrast that with today's architecture, where comfort is outsourced to devices, where insulation compensates for bad shape, where heating systems compensate for bad planning, and where disaster reveals weakness instantly. Peat houses worked because they reduced dependence, because they did not ask for constant input, because once built correctly, they rested in equilibrium with their environment. The earth around them acted like a massive thermal flywheel, slowing change, absorbing shock, smoothing extremes, something modern lightweight construction utterly fails to do. This is why a modern home can drop from warm to freezing in a single night without power, while a peat house would cool so slowly it bought time. Time to survive, time to adapt, time to live. Ancient Scandinavians understood time as insulation, mass as protection, stillness as strength. Their homes did not panic when winter arrived. They were already prepared. Modern homes, by contrast, panic immediately, demanding energy, demanding maintenance, demanding rescue. Even the psychology of living was different. Inside a peat house, the silence of winter was not threatening. It was muted, controlled, held at bay by earth and design. While modern homes amplify storms, creaking and moaning like they themselves are afraid, the thick walls created a sense of enclosure that calmed the nervous system, conserving not just heat but mental resilience. While today's open-plan glass boxes expose occupants to constant visual and acoustic stress in harsh climates, ancient builders intuitively grasped that survival was not only physical but psychological. They created darkness when needed, warmth where it mattered, and boundaries that protected the human mind from an overwhelming environment. Modern design often celebrates exposure as luxury, forgetting that exposure in extreme climates is a liability. The peat house rejected spectacle in favor of endurance. It was invisible from a distance, blending into hills, immune to envy, theft and wind. Modern homes stand tall and proud, advertising themselves to storms they cannot withstand. And here lies another shocking lesson. Humility was a building material. By lowering the structure, by hiding it, by surrendering visual dominance, ancient Scandinavians gained thermal dominance. They sacrificed height for stability, beauty for survival, ego for efficiency. Today we invert those priorities and then wonder why systems fail. The peat house also embodied repairability. If damage occurred, it could be fixed, with soil, grass, hands and time, not specialized parts or supply chains. Modern homes fracture into components that cannot be repaired without global logistics, making them fragile in crisis. When fuel trucks stop and power lines fall, ancient houses continue quietly doing what they were built to do. This is not nostalgia. It is systems thinking centuries ahead of its time. Peat houses were decentralized, resilient, low energy and locally optimized, terms modern sustainability experts use today, while ignoring their most successful historical exam. Ples, and perhaps the most dangerous illusion we carry now, is that progress is linear, that newer automatically means better. Peat houses shatter that illusion completely. They prove that knowledge can be lost, that wisdom can be buried under convenience, and that survival intelligence can decay faster than technology advances. The cold did not defeat ancient Scandinavians because they listened to it, studied it, respected it. Modern homes freeze because we dismiss cold as a problem to be powered away, instead of a force to be designed around. As climate instability increases and energy systems strain, the relevance of peat houses grows sharper, not softer. They stand as quiet warnings that comfort without resilience is temporary, that efficiency beats power, and that the smartest buildings are not those that look advanced, but those that endure when everything else fails. The real shock is not that ancient peat houses stayed warm at 40 degrees Fahrenheit. It is that we knew how, forgot why, and are now relearning the lesson the hard way. One blackout, one frozen home, one failed modern promise at a time. And if you keep following this path to its logical end, you begin to see that peat houses were not just buildings. They were philosophies made solid, frozen wisdom pressed into earth and grass, expressing a worldview that assumed hardship as the default state of existence. Ancient Scandinavians did not design for comfort first and survival second. They reversed the order completely, knowing that real comfort only exists after survival is guaranteed. Their homes accepted darkness, accepted confinement, accepted limits, because limits create control, and control creates warmth. Modern culture, obsessed with openness and excess, mistakes exposure for freedom and height for progress. Yet every extra cubic meter of air is another enemy in winter. Every unnecessary window another wound blee. Ding heat, peat houses taught restraint, the discipline to only build what you could defend thermally, structurally, and energetically. The hearth was placed with intention, not aesthetics, so heat radiated into mass instead of escaping upward. Smoke paths were designed to warm stone and soil before exiting, turning waste into benefit. Even the layout of sleeping areas followed heat logic, placing bodies where warmth pooled naturally, something modern floor plans ignore entirely. Ancient people measured success not by square footage, but by how long warmth lasted after the fire died. That single metric alone exposes how misguided modern housing priorities have become. When energy is cheap, inefficiency hides quietly, but when energy disappears, inefficiency screams. Peat houses were silent because they had nothing to lose. They were already optimized for scarcity. Modern homes collapse into discomfort the moment abundance is interrupted, revealing a dangerous dependency masquerading as sophistication. This dependency reshapes behavior too. Today, people panic at short outages while ancient households planned lives around endurance. Winter was not an emergency, it was a season, and the house was not shelter alone. It was storage of heat, food, tools, and hope. Even moisture management was understood instinctively, as turf walls breathed slowly, preventing the condensation that plagues modern sealed buildings and creates rot, mold, and sickness. Ironically, modern homes rot faster despite advanced materials, while turf structures endured decades under snow and ice. This is because breathability without leakage is a balance modern construction struggles to achieve but ancient methods naturally embodied. Peat houses blurred the line between inside and outside in a controlled way, letting the structure equalize rather than fight physics. Today we build airtight boxes and mechanically correct the problems we created ourselves. Ancient builders skipped the mistake entirely. There is also a cultural blindness at work. Modern societies value speed, so homes are built fast, replaced fast, and forgotten fast. While peat houses were slow architecture, grown almost as much as built, improving as grass rooted and soil settled, they aged like living organisms, not disposable products. Their very decay fed renewal, as roofs could be reseeded, walls reinforced with fresh turf, maintenance becoming part of seasonal rhythm rather than emergency repair. Modern homes age badly, becoming liabilities rather than assets. While peat houses matured into stability, the shock deepens when you realize how many modern innovations are simply rediscoveries of ancient truths. Thermal mass, earth sheltering, passive design, wind buffering, all branded anew because we forgot their origins. Peat houses are not obsolete relics. They are evidence of a lost literacy in climate-responsive living. And the most unsettling part is this: ancient Scandinavians did not have a choice. Failure meant death. So their designs were honest. Modern society has choices, backups, grids, and imports, which allow bad design to survive far longer than it should. But as systems strain, the margin for error shrinks, and suddenly the old solutions look less primitive and more prophetic. Peat houses remind us that real resilience is quiet, unglamorous, and deeply local. They do not impress from a distance, but they protect when it matters most. Modern homes impress first and protect later, if at all, and history is brutally clear about which priority survives extreme cold. When you strip away nostalgia and technology worship, what remains is a simple, humbling lesson carved into frozen soil. Warmth is not something you generate endlessly, it is something you defend intelligently. Ancient Scandinavian peat houses defended it with earth, mass, humility, and patience. Modern homes often abandon it to machines and hope, and winter, as it always has, exposes the difference without mercy.